The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode. And now, here's Brandon.
Welcome back to Old Space Show. I'm Brandon, and this is my companion, Rachel.
I am primed and ready.
The series of Old Space Show follows the story-by-story time-traveling adventures of the Sixth Doctor and Perry Brown during Season 22 of Doctor Who, Colin Baker's first year in the role. Today we will be discussing the story comprised of episodes 7, 8, and 9, The Two Doctors. Following the departure of Victoria Waterfield, the Second Doctor and Jamie McCrimmon are summoned by the Time Lords to Space Station Camera, a research facility in the Third Zone. There they are to convince head of projects Dastari, an old friend of the Doctor's, to stop Karts and Reimer's time experiments for fear they may fall into the hands of the wrong people. Since the Time Lords have a policy of neutrality, they send the exiled Second Doctor to do business in order to maintain deniability. Upon arrival, they meet an androgum named Shakai, who is primitive and hungry for humans. Also lurking on this station is Chesini, an androgum who has been genetically and technologically altered to a mega genius. She has made a deal with the Sontaran named Stike to hand over the Karts-Reimer module. She allows a few Sontaran ships to dock. While the Doctor is meeting with the reluctant Dastari, she has poisoned Dastari's meal, so he faints, and the Sontarans kidnap the Doctor as Jamie escapes. After a fishing trip with Perry, the Sixth Doctor acts up and has a vision of himself being put to death. He decides to consult Dastari, but when he arrives on the station, everything has gone dark. The ship's main computer attempts to kill the Doctor and Perry, but they escape, and the Doctor finds Dastari's journal and gets up to speed. They decide to deactivate the computer using the service ducts, where they find Jamie. On Earth, Chesini, Shakai, and a Sontaran called Major Val seize a hacienda and set up a beacon for Psyche. Killing the owner of the home, Chesini absorbs her mind to find they are in Seville. A couple named Oscar and Anita witness Stike's landing and mistake it for a crash and go to help. A delirious Jamie is hypnotized and tells the Doctor that they killed him and describes the Sontarans. The Doctor then discovers in the main office that an illusion was set up to make people believe he'd been killed. He deduces his former self and Dastari were kidnapped so they can complete the time travel experiment with his symbolic nuclei. Through a trance, the Doctor figures out the villains are in Santa Maria. Once there, they run into Oscar and Anita, who mistake them for plainclothes police officers and lead them to the hacienda. With Perry creating a distraction, the Sixth Doctor and Jamie are able to search the house and find the Karts-Reimer module and see that its Brio nebulizer needs his symbiotic nuclei to be complete. As Perry leaves, she's hunted and captured by Shakai. Stike catches the Doctor and Jamie and forces the Doctor to provide the symbiotic print. He does so, and Jamie stabs Stike's leg so they can escape. Chesini worries more Time Lords may come, so she has Dastari implant the Second Doctor with Shakai's genetic material, and then they will eliminate the Sontarans. However, they do not know the module is primed, and Stike is going to leave soon and kill all of them behind him before he leaves. As the androgum experiment begins on the Second Doctor, the Sixth Doctor rescues Perry. He tells him that he took the Brio nebulizer, making the machine useless. The Second Doctor's experiment works, making him 50% androgum, and he and Shakai escape for a day on the town. Dastari and Chesini then trap the Sontarans in a cellar, and she drops chlorinic acid in there, which kills Val. Stike tries to escape in the module, but without the nebulizer, it burns him. He escapes to his ship, which is set for self-destruct, and he blows up in it. In Seville, Six, Perry, and Jamie seek the Second Doctor and Shakai and wind up in Oscar's restaurant. In dispute over payment, Shakai stabs and kills Oscar. The Second Doctor changes back to normal, and Chesini and Dastari show up to take everyone back to the hacienda at gunpoint. After testing the module on Perry to be sure it works, Chesini gives Shakai permission to eat Jamie. The rest are tied up. The Sixth Doctor shares that he sabotaged the nebulizer to only work once, able to snag the keys. He frees himself and saves Jamie, but is stabbed by Shockeye and is chased outside. He finds Oscar's cyanide killing jar from moth hunting and kills Shockeye with it. Dastari frees the second Doctor and Perry. Chesini then goes to the module but explodes with her in it, and she dies and turns back into an androgum. As they part ways, the second Doctor uses his Statenheim remote controls to summon the TARDIS. The sixth Doctor and Perry make their 5-minute walk back to his TARDIS, and he mentions a healthy vegetarian diet for both of them from here on out. This one is directed by Peter Moffat. This is his final story he directed. As we mentioned, he did Twin Dilemma earlier. He got in a fight with John Nathan Turner, never asked back to the show. And it is written by Robert Holmes, who is the GOAT of Doctor Who writers. Well, maybe Terrence Dicks, but this guy, he's included with all the major classic stuff. He started during season 6, which was Patrick Troughton's final season, making him appropriate to write for him here. But notable stories of his are Legendary Spearhead from Space, Terror of the Autons, Carnival of Monsters, Time Warrior, Ark in Space, Pyramids of Mars, Brain of Morbius, Deadly Assassin, Talons of Wang Chiang, Caves of Androzani, and then he'd go on to the next season to write Mysterious Planet, and he would die writing The Ultimate Foe. He only got part 1 out there, but this guy, start to finish, one of the greats.
Living the dream.
And it stars Colin Baker and Nicola Bryant, guest starring Patrick Troughton, Fraser Hines, Jacqueline Pierce, Lawrence Payne, and John Stratton. Jacqueline Pierce, of course, she was Servalon on Blake 7, the big bad of that show, who's just awesome to watch anytime she walks on screen in that show. She also did an episode of The Avengers and Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, but it has a huge history in British television. Payne, he was in Doctor Who before. He was in The Leisure Hive with, or they call it Leisure Hive, with Tom Baker's Doctor. Yes. And 2 parts of The Gunfighters, William Hartnell serial. So he's now, if you count this one, been with 4 Doctors. 2 of them he makes up for lost time, 4th here. This one, Rachel, was a hellish production. And the last time, they did a fancy travelogue location shoot.
Yeah, because this was going to be filmed in... The story was supposed to take place in New Orleans, and they realized that was way too expensive. And so they decided Spain would be the next best location to go and film. And, you know, geographically compared to England, Spain is a lot closer to the equator and therefore quite a bit warmer and drier. So Perry runs around wearing next to nothing while Fraser Hines looks like he just took an entire bolt of wool from the fabric store and just wrapped it around himself.
Right. He is, he is overdone. Like,
yeah.
It is like
It is ridiculous.
Comedic reiteration of...
And he's got
Jamie.
the Jerry Seinfeld, like, pirate shirt on, too.
Yes. The puffy shirt. Yeah. It's just... And he's, like, struggling to carry... Like, just give him bagpipes. Just do it.
Yeah, like he'll be walking, and then he'll stop walking, and he's like, you know, that kid, you know, in high school who just refused to use their locker, so they carried all of their books, but only wore their backpack on one shoulder.
Right.
So they're constantly having to adjust. That's Frasier with all this fabric.
Oh, gosh. It's hard to watch. Nicola Bryant is an iconic outfit of hers with the headband. She's probably the most comfortable on set.
Other than the shoes.
Shorts, yeah, the shoes. But, you know, this outfit with the shorts and the flashy polyester shirt, I don't know what she's wearing.
You almost wonder why the Doctor didn't keep his visor that he was wearing while they were fishing on.
Right, that is interesting. Or the umbrella.
Protect himself from the sun.
Shade.
Yeah, I love that umbrella. I have my own version.
And this is the first appearance of that umbrella, and that was like what they used for a lot of his promotional shots, right?
Yeah.
And it finally appears here.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you'll see it again in The Mysterious Planet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this one, it's a Multidoctor story. We love.
Which I love. Stories. I love Multidoctor stories.
And although they don't share a frame till like episode 3.
Yeah.
That's where they do. But we open up with a tribute, black and white tribute to Patrick Troughton's era. And
doesn't the aspect ratio change too?
No, because it's 4:3. It's all 4:3.
Okay.
And
so it's just the color then.
Just slowly goes to color, and this.
Oh, they do the change in aspect ratio or whatever in Twice Upon a Time. That's what I'm thinking.
That's the one. Yeah. And they do a whole. This this here creates a whole conundrum for Doctor Who fandom with the appearance here, as they start this one. In my mind, when I watch it, they're trying to tell me that this takes place following Fury from the Deep, which would be about the only accurate whole to fit this story, because they would meet Zoe in the next story and she'd be around to the end. So if you want Jamie, and there's not enough time between Faceless Ones and Evil of the Daleks to do it. You could, and nobody's Nyssa and sleeping in another room during an adventure.
Yeah.
So a lot of there's this season 6.5 theory that came out of this, and they are saying that this happens during the War Games, that the Doctor is charged with doing all these dirty deeds for the Time Lords, and that explains why Patrick Howden's old and Jamie's old, and they're doing all these things before he becomes the Third Doctor. But I don't think they were thinking that or leading that to be set up.
Not at the time, no.
No, it's totally a continuity nerd thing, but I honestly think
there's a lot of Doctor Who continuity that's put together in retro.
Use your damn
retroactive.
Use your damn imaginations, folks. There's terms that I like to use, and I got it from another Doctor Who podcast called Lazy Doctor Who. There's Doyleist and Watsonian, and the Watsonian is the what something means to a character within the novel. And it'd be like, Watson, why did Sherlock Holmes die? Moriarty pushed him off the cliff. And then there's the creator side, the outside the realm of the story, where you ask Arthur Conan Doyle, why did Sherlock Holmes die? I was sick of writing him. This is just because they're old in real life. Like, you're supposed to imagine it's the same ones, and there's no more to it, I think. And I think because they also don't have the resources, Fury from the Deep's a missing story. There was the audios for it weren't available at the time to hear. There was probably just memories they went off of. And then there's what Doctor Who has become since then getting written into the story as well. Kind of clunky continuity. Nobody thought about this hard. Rachel, you have a theory on why, perfectly explains why they look old, which comes from Time Crash, I believe. Or not theory, but explain there.
Yeah, there's a theory, and I can't remember where I've seen it. I don't know if it's actually from the actual bit or if it was like an explanation, because Time Crash was written by Stephen Moffat, and we know that he's a huge fan of the series, so he knows his history. But the explanation that comes out of Time Crash is that when the Doctor encounters themselves, that whoever the newest Doctor is, I don't want to say the oldest Doctor,
right,
which technically would be the newest Doctor.
Right. Freshest.
The freshest Doctor is they're going to perceive previous versions of themselves as older because they consider themselves older. They're going to be like, oh, that's me back then. That's an old version of me.
Yeah, I don't think it's as deep as it, but hey, people have run with it. There's Big Finish stories. It keeps a lot more Second Doctor adventures. But for me, I'm like, come on, folks. They were not thinking that deep.
Yeah. And I don't think about it.
Yeah. I was like,
once I'm watching the story, I'm just like, oh, multi-doctors.
Right.
So I don't think about the fact that they don't look the same age as they were when they were the Doctor. So. And
this is Patrick Troughton's final performance as the Second Doctor. I don't count his floating head as in Dimensions in Time his final appearance, but he's older.
His face still appears, so therefore,
right. He was only around.
Still appears in the multi-Doctor stories.
He died. He died like a year or two after this. It wasn't too long.
Oh no! Well,
yeah.
I can't remember now who passed between him and
Pertwee was in the 90s.
Pertwee, who died when? I don't remember. So
yeah, 87, just a couple years after this. Yeah. Pertwee was early 90s because he got to be in some of those makeshift stories with included Doctor Who actors. Those movies. Yeah, so he's here last time, and he's old, and I mean there's a whole episode with him just laying down he gets to lead the show for a bit. I mean, the first 20 minutes or so is Patrick Troughton and Jamie just doing it, and then he gets to have some fun pantomime stuff when he becomes an androgum.
Yeah.
And he's loving that. And then finally they get together in the end for just a brief time, it feels.
Yeah, but you still get the ego clash.
Right. You got to have it.
Yeah.
Snap.
Which Troughton's doctor always seems to be the instigator whenever the doctor encounters himself.
Right.
He's always in the middle of, he's like, oh, you redecorated. I don't like it.
And he gets to show off his remote control at the end.
Oh, yes. The remote control.
Yes.
Which the doctor doesn't even really have now.
No.
Although the doctor can open the doors with the snap of his fingers.
Yes.
So.
I will say one of my favorite doctor interactions.
I'd still rather have the remote control.
Yeah. One of my favorite doctor interaction things has to be Day of the Doctor when 10 and 11 put on their specs and see each other and they're like, just both of them just perfect.
Yeah.
But this one, we have a location shoot, but we also get some cool B movie sets for the station. So you kind of have best of both Doctor Who worlds.
Those air ducts that the Doctor and Perry went to look like the I'm going to age myself here, kids of our era. They look like the obstacle thing you would climb through at like Discovery Zone.
Right.
Just the bright colors.
Yes.
Just climbing up on things and other things. Like those are not air ducts that I've ever seen.
Yes. And the doctor falling on the wires carefully and neatly.
Colin was like, that was not comfortable.
He's like a tall man. It's really weird to watch him get in these like little situations that look awkward a bit. And we get the Sontarans back, first time since the Invasion of Time, and last time till the 4th season with the 10th Doctor. But I always liked Sontarans. They kind of creep me out. They're just visually
a weird looking species.
Yeah, this is like the cheapest I think they've looked before, because it just went with like a mask rather than trying to make up into their face so their mouths can move. So you get a lot of talking on a mask that doesn't get dubbed in the end.
And they're way too tall and skinny.
Yeah, Val is super tall.
Yeah,
and the other one.
Yeah, they're supposed to be short and stocky and.
And then there's also this, Colin puts, a double cross upon a double cross happens in this story.
Yeah. The science in this is just, I think there's a reason they've not come back to this. And they skipped over the whole symbiotic nuclei thing in The Doctor's Wife.
Right.
It'd just be like, I am the TARDIS. I take you where I think you need to go.
Right.
End of story.
Yes. Oh man.
Let's not worry about any of the other scientific. Yeah, the whole thing with the taking, like, I know they needed to establish Dastari's work with genetics because genetics are important to, at least as far as the Time Lords, how they use time travel is concerned. But to the whole like subplot with Shockeye and Androgum and how he's turned Jacini, who used to be full Androgum, to now she's like this super smart, sophisticated, not base level kind of just food motivated being like Shockeye is. But then you like, there's all that, and then turning the second Doctor into part Androgum, and you see how that starts to affect the sixth Doctor, which makes you wonder how Doctors 3, 4, and 5, how they were feeling, because if 6 was feeling it, then it had to have gone through the others as well. Somewhere Tom Baker's Doctor is like, jelly babies, no, give me beef jerky.
Right.
It's like, there's like all these different subplots, and there's just a lot there. And
that's what a lot of Colin's stories in this season are, really heavily plotted.
Anytime you get a multi-doctor story, things tend to get way more complicated.
Yeah, and this one's 3 parts, so it got even bigger.
Yeah.
I think it's the longest runtime for a multi-doctor story when you put it all together.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one, it's the first 3-part serial since Planet of the Giants, the 1964, the second season opener, and it's one of the 3 multi-doctor stories, including Time Crash and Twice Upon a Time, that were not for an anniversary. Mm-hmm. Interesting stuff. And the violence in this one is...
Oh, yeah, this one's... Vengeance on Virus ain't got nothing on this one.
Nope.
I mean, you got the doctor obviously, not on accident, obviously killing someone.
Rachel's doctor kills.
Yeah. This doctor just flat out kills. Like, granted, Shockeye needed to be stopped. There was, he was at that point, he was pretty much like a zombie.
Surprised they didn't have like Jamie do it, I don't know, but
yeah, because like, Scottish warrior,
he does it.
He could do it, but no, like he just, and before that, Shockeye kills Oscar in the restaurant. That's not how you get out of paying a bill, and that's just Oscar gets this dramatic death scene,
murdered in the restaurant, like stab. I was like, oh my gosh,
yeah, that's one way to turn somebody off their meal. I'd be like, check please. But as the genetic manipulation seemingly starts to wear off on Giacchini, and the Colin's doctor gets stabbed at one point and bleeds like in the courtyard of this house that they're in, and Giacchini comes by and just like dramatically flops to the ground and starts lapping at it like a cat. Yes. Almost. And it's like, you got a character that's literally sticking her fingers in someone's blood and just like, ugh. Yeah. Yeah, this is a bloody, violent story. Jamie's getting tenderized.
Right, yeah, yeah.
It's just, this one's brutal.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's stunning to watch. I mean, the way they film it too. It's not like it just happens. It's filmed with intent to showcase. And I always find it funny when they first meet Oscar and Anita, and he mentions the cyanide thing for them. I'm like, well, that's a strange detail for him to. Okay, there it is.
Which
it's the Chekhov's moth cyanide of
I guess.
Doctor Who.
Which I'm not a bug collector by any means. That was a optional thing we could do in high school science class for extra credit, but I really, really cannot stand bugs and insects. So I was like, I'm just going to get a good grade otherwise. But I know people that have done it, and I don't know. I don't think cyanide is what they use. Right. I imagine that there are other things less dangerous that could be used to knock out your subjects.
We were talking about Shockeye. They originally had Donald Pleasance in mind to play him.
Oh, God. That would have been interesting.
That would have been he could have done it. He's played some really crazy people in the past, but I would have loved that, being the Halloween nut that I am. This one, of course, it comes from, Holmes stuck ideas from an abandoned 5-doctor script he had titled The 6 Doctors, and featured Cybermen needing an organic mechanism from the Doctor become Cyberlords, which, does that sound familiar? I think we've seen that come to life now.
Chris Chibnall knows his history.
Yep.
Haters.
Guess what? Haters. Dorks. This was Bob Holmes' idea,
Yeah.
The Bob Holmes you like to point to of like, it's so much better. Stop. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, you're now oh, no.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but not all Bob Holmes stuff. Oh, pick and choose. Pick and choose. Pick and choose. Sorry, Series 12 lover here. So, yeah. Just go with that.
Just saying, like them or hate them, since Doctor Who's returned, they've at least done a good job at hiring people that were fans and realize the history there, and
such fans
got to use it.
That Chris Chibnall, as a kid, told Pip and Jane Baker on live television that he thought Terror of the Vervoid stunk. I'm sure he regrets this, but wow.
Hopefully, when he got older, he was able to reconnect, especially now that Pip is gone, to apologize for his
I have thoughts
youthful indiscretions.
I have thoughts on that special, and I don't think he's to blame. It's whoever put that together should be ashamed of themselves. That's not what you do. That is not what you do. Oh, man. But yeah, so that's a little thing here and there, and I want to tell you, Rachel, that this time when I watched it was probably the time I enjoyed it most because I spaced it out. I watched it episode by episode over 3 days. I've normally just watched it in a thing, and it really worked for me a lot the best this time. I know, and the thing is that Doctor Who, a lot of people like to run through this classic stuff. They don't get into it. They don't like certain things, but it was always meant to be watched a week apart and not together.
Ruminate, on what it is you've seen. Take it in.
Yeah.
So that when it comes back, you can be like, oh, yes, that was...
Yeah.
We're building on what we had experienced before. I'm looking at you people complaining about WandaVision and how you had to wait every week.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
For more. This is how TV is meant to be watched.
Exactly.
Binging has ruined people.
We like to talk about the current season over a course of a season.
Yeah.
Not a weekend, a season. Yeah. They call it season because a season is more than a weekend.
Yeah.
But
just like sports.
Yeah.
Week at a time.
Yeah.
Building on what happened the week before.
Yeah. I appreciate things like I appreciate the construct of a singular episode so much, and it's gone when I binge stuff too, and I feel like trash afterwards, and I forget stuff. I can't. A lot of the stuff intended for binging too has episodes that are just like, this isn't even anything. This is just, we have an hour. But that's another conversation. But Doctor Who, I hope, will always maintain its week-to-week thing because I think it works best, and I would hate to just dump it on one day because there's so much to take from each adventure with the Doctor. And I love its balance between serialization and standalone. I think they do it better than anybody, and yeah, I wouldn't want that. But yeah, so really, this is the time I think I enjoyed it the most because I did it that way. Like I've always been okay with this one. I always thought it felt long. Well, that's because I was watching it that way, especially when they're 45-minute episodes, and instead of this would have been a 6-parter. Well, it was a 6-parter in some countries because they would chop it up to 24 3-part episode. Yeah, so this is the Two Doctors, a great little multi-doctor story. One of the ones where there's only, Day of the Doctor's 2 doctors, basically, but they throw the War Doctor in there, so I guess it's 3.
He's the Doctor.
Yeah. And then
he even says so at the end.
Yes. I'm the Doctor.
Yes.
Yeah. And then, Twice Upon a Time has 2 as well. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I'm a sucker for a multi-doctor story.
Oh, yeah. They're great. They're great.
But, as I was saying in our previous episode, with Mark of the Rani, I'm really kind of a sucker for any multi-time lord or Gallifreyan.
With Twice Upon a Time, you get a multi-master story right before a multi-doctor story.
Yeah.
With Mondasian Cybermen.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's like, what more do you want?
We've got it all.
The Rani. That's what we're missing. So.
That's what we're missing. Bring back the Rani.
Yep.
Excellent.
And more multi-doctor stories when appropriate.
We're 2 years away. 2 years away from a surefire multi-doctor story. Maybe hopefully Jodie gets one secretly in this one. What would you say? Okay, this is way off topic, but no, it's not multi-doctor story. What would you say if they recast one of these old older doctors to put him as a multi-doctor story like they did with Hartnell. Say they did like a fourth doctor, recast him to be with like Jodie or someone like that. Would you be against it because it's not the same person and they're trying to keep it the look right there?
Yeah, I would be against it if the actor is still alive, the original actor's still alive. So the first Doctor I get because, Hartnell, he's been gone for quite a while. So we don't really have much of a choice.
Right. He's been played by like 3 different people now. So
yes.
We're used to him.
Yeah. Yeah. Although, when the first time I watched the 5 Doctors, I had not watched enough classic Who to know everybody by face, so I didn't recognize that the first Doctor was a completely different actor.
Hartnell
now it's very obvious, but
Hartnell did get to be in a multi-doctor story though, so he did get that check off of the
yes, yeah, he was in the 3 Doctors, even if it was
3-ish Doctors,
yeah. Well, he's really actually in there, it. Acting kind of.
He did press photos for it too.
Yeah, they filmed him in his garden.
He did more for than Tom Baker did for 5 Doctors.
Yeah. Yes. But he is in it acting, as his character, as the first Doctor. But no, I think as long as the actor who originated the character is still alive, don't recast them.
What if they recast and dubbed over the voice? So that was their voice, but the look kept consistent.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing these devil's advocate questions at you.
Just because the voices, they can kind of get away with it in Big Finish because you don't have the visuals to remind you that the Doctors are now older, even though all of them, their voices have aged.
Right. The funny thing is, I think they could bring back Sylvester McCoy and it'd be like, I didn't.
Yeah, Sylvester, I think, would be the closest.
The closest, yeah.
that they could possibly get away with.
Like, because he just recently reprised the role for that trailer for the season 24 set.
Yeah.
And look, it was just like, yeah, just because he's kind of got a weird look to begin with,
kind of rubbery face that doesn't really age,
and he was wearing old man garb for an outfit to begin with. So
yeah. So his Doctor still kind of worked. I think it would be interesting to maybe for like an anniversary or something to maybe change it up and not do a multi-Doctor story, but maybe do a multi-classic companion.
Well, that would be cool. I've always wondered, like, why don't we go and catch up with what's happening from the Savages with Peter Purvis, with Steven or somebody, like while these people are sort of like maybe a little cameo from Polly in an episode somewhere. She's be there, or
bring us Susan.
Yeah, Susan's still around.
Yeah.
Your granddaughter.
Yeah, I mean, she could come back. I mean, she was a Gallifreyan, but she wasn't a Time Lord.
As we know, there's a difference.
Time Lord is a designation. Gallifreyan is like the race of the planet. So you have to go through the academy to get the title of Time Lord. It's kind of like becoming a Master Jedi.
Right.
And from there, you get the perks of that title, and that includes regeneration.
Right.
So, as Susan does not regenerate because she's not a Time Lord, as far as I know. Again, there's a lot of Big Finish I've not listened to. There's just so much. But as long as we still have a lot of these classic companions around, and if it's done modern day, then you don't need to justify why they're so much older.
Right. I'd love to go check on Perry and Brian Blessed, see what they're up to.
I don't think this was ever done officially, but I think someone headcanon that eventually they do move to Earth and King Ukranos becomes a professional wrestler and Perry's his manager.
I'm down with that. I'm 100% want that.
Yeah.
Oh my.
But I would love to see like a multi-classic companion story because that's not something that's been done on TV.
Right. No, they haven't. The only time there's been multiple companions with 5 Doctors, really.
Yeah.
Because Rose wasn't Rose in Day of the Doctor.
Yeah.
And Dimensions in Time.
Yeah, and Dimensions in Time.
But no, I know Chibnall has said he's had interest in Ace bringing Ace back, as well as Tegan and Rory and Amy are of interest to him.
Yeah.
Maybe Dan can meet them.
Yeah. Oh. I think that would be interesting. I think that would make for a very interesting way to do an anniversary, because we've kind of come to expect like these big to-do multi-doctor stories for anniversary years, and
I mean,
I think it'd be fun to change it up.
Yeah, 10 got a grand finale of all his companions together for Journey's End, and some of them will get a little goodbye at the end, cameo, before they regenerate. But yeah, to get the classic ones back for a battle, Sarah Jane's been brought back, but I would like to see, Joe's around.
Yep.
But they are having fun reprising themselves for these trailers. I do like that.
Oh yeah.
Leela's still around. Like Leela would be. What's going on? Did you guys work out there on Gallifrey, or was it a fling? Who knows?
Yeah. Well, she's still there during the Time War, so
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Only Russell knows what happens there.
Yeah, her and Romana
Mm-hmm.
and K9, a version of K9.
Yes. All right. Well, it's time to return to the TARDIS to set our coordinates for our next adventure. Rachel, whereabouts in time and space can people find you?
Well, you can find me every week with the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. We are a pop culture, geek culture, entertainment podcast where we talk about books, movies, TV shows, video games, all things needy and gurky. That's a new one. Geeky. From the female perspective, we can be found pretty much where you can find podcasts. Pick your app, platform, whatever of choice. You can probably find us. And also at the5ishfangirls.com, where you can connect with all of our social medias and ways you can financially support us and all those fun things. And then every other week, you can find me on Gold Standard, the Oscars podcast, where we are watching and reviewing every single Academy Award winner for Best Picture in chronological order. So we started in the late 1920s, and we are now in the 1940s, post-World War II era. I'm very excited for color picture to become the norm. Bring it on. But we can also be found pretty much wherever you can find podcasts on all the various platforms. And on Facebook, just look for Gold Standard, the Oscars podcast.
Hashtag the two recordings. And I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Brand4KUHG. Written work at whystoblue.com. There's more from the Brand Peters Show this week, and next week we know we're all waiting for it. Time Lash is coming, but
oh yeah,
but from
we've all been waiting for.
But from Old Space,
I am the companion, whether you like it or not.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. Additional information on this and other episodes at BrandonPetersShow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail at BrandonPetersShow.com. The show is available on Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.